Now, bivariate data is exactly as it sounds. Bi means two, variate, variables. It has two variables. So bivariate data contains pairs of measurements. So for example, we might be looking at the height and the weight of students in our class. Or perhaps we might be looking at the rainfall in New South Wales each month. Here we have time as one of the variables and rainfall as the other. Now we need to divide them into variables that are either dependent or independent. How do we do it? Well, think what this word independent means. If you're independent, you can do whatever you want. You don't depend on anybody. So an independent variable is predictable. It might be controllable, and it's plotted on the x-axis. So in this example up here, we'd say that time is independent because it's just going to tick away whether we measure the rainfall or not. It says, I'm time, I'm just passing, I don't really care what you do. So we put it on the x-axis because time's just going to go on forever. Rainfall is something that we're interested in. And if you said, hey, how much rain has fallen? A logical answer would be, when? When do you mean? So the answer to that question depends on what time we're talking about. So, naturally enough, the dependent variable depends on the independent one. So we plot it on the y-axis. Now, to analyse the associations correctly between two variables, it's really important that we consider dependence carefully. And sometimes it's really easy to spot. I think this example is easy. We can see that time needs to go on the x-axis and rainfall needs to go on the y. But sometimes it's harder than that. Another easy one would be we're looking at the growth of a plant over a 2-week period. Again, we've got time, that's independent. Anything with time, you're pretty sure is going to go on the x-axis. What about something like the height and the weight of students? Well, let's consider carefully. Would your weight depend on your height? Yes, if you're tall, you're naturally heavier, even if you're not fat, right? And if you're short, you're naturally lighter, whether or not you're fat. Does your height depend on your weight? Are you only tall because you're heavy? No, that actually doesn't make sense to say you're only short because you're light or tall because you're heavy. Weight does depend on height more than height can depend on weight. So you would put height as the independent variable. After all, you can't help how tall you are. That's something that just is the way that it is. And your weight is going to be something that might be a function of your height.